The week passed like a storm building on the horizon. Every human felt it coming, something big, something that could not be stopped. Ambassador Haywan Park stood before the Galactic Council once more. This time her hands did not shake. She had slept poorly for 7 nights preparing for this moment. Behind her, transmitted live across every human world, billions watched and waited. High Chancellor Vartesh, members of the Council. She began, her voice clear and strong. Earth's government has reviewed your directive. We have consulted with our colonies, our military, and our people. Our answer is unanimous. Vartesh leaned forward slightly, his crystalline features reflecting the chamber's lights. We hope you have chosen wisely, Ambassador. We reject Directive 7741 completely. We will not surrender our ships. We will not abandon our colonies. We will not accept your control over our development. Haywan paused, letting the words sink in. If you attempt to enforce this unjust decree, you will find that humanity does not submit easily. The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. Species that had never disagreed with the council's decisions now watched in disbelief as these young humans openly defied them. Vartesh's voice cut through the noise like ice. Then you choose extinction. No species has refused a council directive in over 4 centuries. We have maintained peace through strength and unity. You will learn why that peace has lasted so long. Perhaps, Haywan said quietly. Or perhaps you will learn that peace built on fear is not peace at all. The transmission ended. Across human space, people erupted in cheers and tears. They had their answer. Their government would fight. Within 3 days, council fleets began moving into position. Over 300 warships surrounded human territory like a closing fist. They did not attack yet. The council believed the blockade alone would force humanity to surrender. Cut off from trade and supplies, Earth and her colonies would starve themselves into submission. Governor Sora Kang stood in the control center on Mars, watching the tactical display. Council ships formed a perfect sphere around the Sol system. Nothing could get in or out without their permission. Status report, she ordered. Her chief engineer, a woman named Yoon Seo, pulled up data on the main screen. Food supplies are good for 18 months. Water recycling is at full capacity. Manufacturing plants have been retooled for weapon production. We're as ready as we can be. Sora nodded. Mars had been humanity's first colony, established over 100 years ago. The domed cities housed 3 million people, and every single one had voted to resist the council's demands. Good. Tell the farming sectors to maximize production. If Earth falls, we need to be self-sufficient. You think Earth will fall? Yoon Seo asked quietly. I think we're about to find out how strong we really are. On Earth, General Sung-Min Hwang activated Operation Defiant Stand. He was 70 years old, gray-haired and scarred from the corporate wars of his youth. He had hoped to retire in peace. Instead, he was preparing to fight the largest military force in known history. Every reserve soldier received their call-up orders. Shipyards that had been quiet for years roared back to life. The massive construction facilities around Luna began building new vessels, working 3 shifts around the clock. Sungmin knew the numbers. Earth had roughly 200 military vessels. The Council blockade alone had 300, and that was just the beginning. Intelligence reports suggested the Council could deploy over 1,000 ships if needed. We're outnumbered 5-1, his second-in-command said. How do we fight this? Sungmin looked at the tactical map. We don't fight their way. We fight like humans. We adapt, we improvise. We hit them where they're weak and run before they can respond. Guerrilla warfare? In space? Exactly. Deep in the research facility beneath Olympus Mons on Mars, engineer Hyunwoo Park worked on something that might change everything. Project Prometheus, they called it. Quantum entanglement weapons that could phase through energy shields and detonate inside enemy ships. Dr. Yoonji Choi arrived from Earth carrying classified files. She looked exhausted but excited. Did you bring it? Hyunwoo asked. Every bit of research we have on quantum manipulation. If this works, we can actually hurt them. Hyunwoo pulled up the weapon schematics. Standard missiles just bounce off council shields. But these ignore shields entirely. They worked through the night testing and retesting. By dawn, they had a working prototype. By the end of the week, they had built 16 missiles. It was not many, but it was a start. Pilot Young Jae Nam sat in his fighter cockpit running simulation after simulation. He led the Crimson Hawks, humanity's best fighter squadron. They had trained for years against theoretical enemies. Now those enemies were real and waiting just beyond the moon. His wingman, a pilot named Bora, opened a private channel. "You scared?" "Terrified," Young Jay admitted. "You?" "Same, but I keep thinking about my little sister on Proxima Station. About the council telling her she has to leave her home. Makes me less scared and more angry." "Good," Young Jay said. "Angry keeps you sharp. Scared keeps you alive. We'll need both." The 90-day deadline approached like a countdown to the end of the world. Council forces tightened the blockade. They intercepted supply ships and turned back civilian transports. Life on the colonies became harder. Rationing began. People went to bed hungry and woke up wondering if today would be the day the shooting started. Admiral Taemin gathered his fleet commanders via secure hologram. Faces appeared around the conference table. Men and women from every human colony. They all knew what was coming. "They expect us to break," Taemin said. "They think hunger and fear will make us surrender. They're wrong." "How do we fight them, Admiral?" asked Commander Ji-won, captain of the destroyer Relentless. "They have better ships, better weapons, better everything." "They have better technology," Taemin agreed. "But technology isn't everything. They've been at peace for centuries. Their tactics are old. Their commanders are cautious. They expect us to fight like them. Big fleets, head-on battles, honor and rules." He smiled coldly. "We're not going to do that. We're going to fight dirty. We're going to use every trick humans have ever learned in thousands of years of warfare. We're going to be unpredictable, ruthless, and absolutely relentless." "Guerrilla warfare," someone said. "Exactly. Hit and run, ambush, deception, make them afraid of the dark. Make them wonder where we'll strike next. Turn their numbers against them." The commanders nodded, understanding dawning on their faces. On day 88, Earth sent its final message to the Galactic Council. It was simple, broadcast on every frequency in every language. Come and take it. 3 words. A declaration of defiance that echoed through human history. 3 words that said humanity would rather die standing than live on their knees. The Council's response came 12 hours later. Fartesh's voice was cold and final. "You have made your choice. On day 90, Council forces will enforce Directive 7741. Resistance will be met with overwhelming force. Surrender now or face the consequences." Day 90 arrived. Council forces prepared to advance. Commanders checked their weapons. Crews ran final system checks. They expected this to be quick and easy. The humans would fire a few desperate shots, then realize the hopelessness of their situation and surrender. They were so very wrong. Admiral Taemin sat on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the clock count down to 0. His crew was silent, waiting for his order. Around him, scattered across human space, 200 ships waited for the same command. The clock reached 0. "All ships," Taemin said calmly. "This is it. Show them what humans can do. Execute Operation Defiant Stand, fire at will." The war had begun. The Council expected quick victory. Humanity expected to die fighting. Neither side knew what was really about to happen. Neither side understood that this was not just a war for territory or resources. This was a war for the soul of the galaxy itself, and humanity had just thrown the first punch. The threat of planetary annihilation changed everything. When humanity learned the Council had authorized planet-killing weapons, something fundamental shifted. Fear turned to fury. Desperation turned to determination. Fleet Admiral Insu Park emerged from retirement, called back by Chancellor Yuna herself. He was 87 years old, walked with a cane, and had fought in humanity's worst wars. His tactical mind was still sharp as broken glass. "They want to kill our planets?" he said to the War Council, his voice rough with age and anger. "Then we'll show them that 2 can play that game. Not to destroy their worlds, but to prove we can reach them. Anywhere. Anytime." He laid out Operation Reckoning, a plan so bold that several generals thought he had lost his mind. Humanity would not just defend anymore. They would attack the Council homeworlds directly, striking at the heart of the enemy's power. "Sir, that's impossible," General Sungmin said carefully. "Their homeworlds have defenses we can't even imagine." "They thought Kepler Station was invincible too," Insu replied. "We don't need to conquer their worlds. We just need to show them we can threaten them the way they threaten us." The plan required everything humanity had left. Every ship, every weapon, every bit of courage they could find. The newly completed Prometheus Rising became the centerpiece of the operation. It was humanity's most advanced warship, built entirely around quantum technology. Captain H. Moon took command, hand-picked for her tactical genius and ice-cold nerves under pressure. "Understood, Admiral," she said when given her orders. "We'll make them remember this day." Meanwhile, hacker Ji Young Seo and her cyber warfare team prepared the digital assault. For months, Sergeant Kyung Soo's special operations teams had been planting backdoors and quantum hacks in council networks. Now Ji Young would activate them all at once. "If this works," she told her team, "the entire council communication system will go dark. Their ships won't be able to coordinate. Their defenses won't respond properly. It'll be chaos. And if it doesn't work," someone asked, "then we die trying, same as everyone else." Councillor Rintal of the Tilmar committed an act of treason. He could not stand by while the council destroyed an entire civilization for the crime of wanting freedom. Late one night, he transmitted classified files to diplomat Seong Ho. Defense plans, ship positions, weaknesses in the council's most protected systems. "I do not know if this will help," his message read, "but I cannot let genocide happen without trying to stop it. My people were like you once. We forgot how to be brave. Perhaps watching you will teach us again." Seong-ho's work bore fruit in other ways. The Kriven Coalition and Nimbar Collective announced they were leaving the council, closing their borders and denying council forces access to critical supply routes. It would not win the war, but it forced the council to spread their fleets thinner. Operation Reckoning launched on a cold morning in May 2848. Admiral Tae-min led the first strike force toward Quor Prime, the Quor homeworld. It was a feint, designed to draw off council forces. He took every ship he could spare, knowing most would not return. "All crews, this is Admiral Kim. What we do today will echo through history. Our children will remember this. The galaxy will remember this. Show them what humans are made of." His fleet jumped to hyperspace, heading straight into the teeth of council defenses. Admiral Jae-sung led the second force to Halmec space, targeting shipyards and supply centers. His orders were to cause maximum disruption, keeping council forces off balance and unable to respond to the real threat. The real threat was Captain A-cha and the Prometheus Rising. With 30 of humanity's fastest ships, she made the impossible jump to Velthara itself, the council's oldest, most powerful homeworld, the planet that had not seen war in over 1,000 years. The journey took 3 days, pushing the ships to their absolute limits. When they emerged from hyperspace above Velthara, the bridge crew of the Prometheus Rising stared in awe at the crystalline cities below. "Beautiful and ancient." "Target locks acquired," the weapons officer said quietly. "Do not fire," Acha ordered. "Open all communication channels. Broadcast on every frequency." She stood, adjusting her uniform, and began speaking. Her words transmitted across the entire Veltharan system, reaching every ship, every station, every city. "This is Captain H.A. Moon of the United Earth Systems. We are not here to destroy. We are here to demonstrate a truth your leaders have forgotten. No species is invincible. No government has the right to enslave others. You came to our worlds with weapons of genocide. We came to yours to show mercy." Below on Velthara's surface, millions watched in shock as human warships hung in their sky. The impossible had happened. The unthinkable was real. "Stand down your fleets," Acha continued. "End this war, or the next time we come, it will not be as a warning." The Prometheus Rising held position for 6 hours. Veltharan defense fleets arrived, dozens of massive warships, but they hesitated. To attack would risk damage to their own planet. To do nothing showed weakness. In those 6 hours, Ji Young's cyber attack activated. Across council space, communication networks crashed. Navigation systems failed. Weapons platforms went offline. It was not permanent, but it created exactly the chaos Insu had predicted. On the council station, Vartesh watched his perfect order collapse in real time. Reports flooded in. Human ships over Velthara. Kriven and Nimbar borders closed. Communication systems failing. Multiple simultaneous attacks across 3 sectors. Ambassador Hei Wan, who had been held under house arrest for months, walked into the council chamber. No one stopped her. The guards were too busy trying to understand what was happening. "High Chancellor," she said, her voice cutting through the chaos. "You sought to crush us because we were different. Because we grew too fast. Because we refused to accept our place. But you forgot something. Humanity has never accepted chains. This is an act of terrorism." Vartesh's voice was sharp with panic. Your forces are threatening civilian populations. We are demonstrating capability, not intent, HFY replied calmly. You authorized planet killers against our worlds. We came to yours to show mercy, not destruction. Can you say the same? Across the council chamber, representatives from dozens of species watched the drama unfold. They saw human ships hovering over Velthara, holding their fire. They saw council forces paralyzed, uncertain. They saw the mighty council powerless for the first time in centuries. The core representative spoke, its voice uncertain. What do you want? What we have always wanted, HFY said. To be left in peace. To build our colonies. To raise our children. To exist without your boots on our necks. Reports continued arriving. The attacks were not causing mass casualties. Human forces targeted military installations, leaving civilian areas untouched. In 3 days of fighting, human forces had killed fewer council citizens than the council had killed humans in the first week of war. It was a calculated message. We could destroy you, but we choose not to. Can you say the same? On Earth, Chancellor Yuna waited for news. The entire planet held its breath. Had they gone too far? Would the council respond with total annihilation? Or would they finally back down? The answer came from an unexpected source. 12 council species led by the core and including several major powers issued a joint statement. We withdraw our support for military action against humanity. We call for immediate cessation of hostilities and emergency council vote on Directive 7741. The tide had turned. Not through military superiority, but through demonstrating that humanity fought with honor even when the council did not, that humans could reach anyone, anywhere, but chose mercy over vengeance. Vartesh, facing the dissolution of his power, made the call no one expected. Cease all operations. Withdraw all forces from human space. Initiate emergency council vote. On the bridge of the Prometheus Rising, Captain Acha received the order to withdraw. She allowed herself a small smile. They had done it. They had stared down the largest military force in the galaxy and won. All ships begin withdrawal to Sol system. Jump on my mark. The human fleet vanished from Veltharan space, leaving behind only a message. Remember this day. Remember that mercy was shown. And pray you never need to learn what happens when humans fight without mercy. Admiral Taemin's forces withdrew from core space. Admiral Jae Sung pulled back from Halmec. Across the galaxy, human forces disengaged and retreated, not in defeat but in victory. The war was not quite over. There would be negotiations, treaties, reparations, but the fighting had stopped. Humanity had forced the impossible. The Galactic Council had backed down. On Earth, people flooded the streets in celebration. They had paid a terrible price, over 40,000 dead, countless wounded. Entire ships lost, but they were free. In his retirement home in Seoul, Fleet Admiral Insu watched the news feeds and allowed himself a rare smile. He had seen humanity at its worst, fighting wars for greed and power. Now he had seen humanity at its best, fighting for freedom and winning through courage and honor. We did it, he whispered to himself. We actually did it. But even as Earth celebrated, everyone knew the galaxy had changed forever. Humanity had proven that the Council's power was not absolute. That resistance was possible. That tyranny could be beaten, and across the galaxy, other species watched and wondered. If humanity could do it, why couldn't they? 3 months into the war, everything changed. The Council's 7th Armada arrived with 800 warships, the largest military force assembled in 4 centuries. They came expecting to crush humanity once and for all. On Earth, people watched the news feeds with growing fear. The numbers were impossible. Even with all their victories, humanity could not stand against such overwhelming power. But Admiral Taemin had a plan. In a secret facility on the far side of Luna, Engineer Hyunwoo and Dr. Yoonji completed their greatest achievement, the Prometheus Array. It was a network of quantum entanglement nodes that allowed human ships to coordinate attacks across vast distances instantly. No communication delay, no signal interception, perfect tactical synchronization. If this works, Yoonji said, staring at the glowing network, we can make our small fleet fight like it's one giant organism. It'll work, Hyunwoo said with more confidence than he felt. It has to. They activated the array and sent the signal to every human warship. Suddenly, Admiral Taemin could see through the sensors of every ship simultaneously. Every captain could coordinate with every other captain in real time. It was like giving humanity a single mind across space. Meanwhile, diplomat Sung-Ho Park worked in secret, far from the battlefields. He had spent months making contact with species that were not part of the Council's inner circle. The Tilmar philosophers, the Kruven merchants, the Nimbar isolationists. He showed them evidence that Commander Hyjin had gathered, proof that the Council had used similar tactics before, crushing other young species who grew too strong. The Tilmar had lost colony rights 200 years ago. The Kruven paid heavy taxes for protection they did not need. Today, they attack humanity, Sung-Ho told them in private meetings. Tomorrow they come for you. Unless we stand together. The Tilmar representative, a being named Rintal, listened carefully. He was old even by his species' standards, and he remembered when his people had tried to resist Council demands. They had failed, but watching humans fight stirred something in him he thought long dead. Hope. What do you want from us? Rintal asked. Nothing yet, Sung-Ho replied. Just watch. Watch what happens next. Then decide if the Council deserves your loyalty. On Earth, Chancellor Yuna addressed the planet. Her message was broadcast to every colony, every ship, every human in space. We have fought for 3 months. We have lost ships. We have lost people we love. The Council thinks these losses will break us. They're wrong. She paused, her voice growing stronger. We fight not just for ourselves, but for every species that the Council has crushed. For every civilization told to stay small and weak and obedient. We are not terrorists. We are free people defending our freedom, and we will show the galaxy that tyranny can be beaten. The words resonated across human space. Volunteers flooded recruitment centers. Factories worked around the clock. Even children helped, sorting supplies and writing letters to soldiers. Admiral Taemin prepared for the biggest gamble of the war, Operation Thunderstrike. Every available human warship would attack Kepler Station, the Council's main staging base. It was defended by 300 ships and had shields that could withstand nuclear weapons. This is insane, Admiral Jae-Sung Kwan said. He commanded the reserve fleet, older ships that had been rushed back into service. We'll lose half our fleet just trying to reach it. Probably, Taemin agreed. But if we take Kepler Station, we cut off their supply lines. We prove that nowhere is safe. We change the entire war. He activated the Prometheus array, and suddenly every captain in the fleet could see the plan simultaneously. They would attack from 16 different directions at once, overwhelming the station's defenses through perfect coordination. It's still suicide, someone said. Then we die fighting, Taemin replied. Better than dying on our knees. The attack began at dawn, Earth time. Human ships appeared around Kepler Station from every direction simultaneously, their movements coordinated with impossible precision. The Council defenders tried to respond, but they could not adapt fast enough. Pilot Young Jae and the Crimson Hawks led the fighter assault, targeting the station's shield generators. His squadron lost 12 fighters in the first 5 minutes, but they kept pressing forward. Young Jae's ship took damage, alarm screaming, but he lined up his shot and fired. The shield generator exploded, opening on the north side. He broadcast, "All ships concentrate fire there." Human warships poured weapons fire through the gap. The station's shields flickered and failed. Now it was a knife fight, close and brutal. Captain Ji-Ho Lee, commanding the destroyer Vengeance, led a desperate assault against the station's command center. Her ship was never meant for this kind of combat. It was a patrol destroyer, fast but lightly armored. Council dreadnoughts hammered it with weapons fire. Hull breaches on decks 3 and 5. Her damage control officer shouted, "We can't take much more." Ji-Ho stared at the tactical display. If they retreated now, the opportunity would be lost. If they pressed forward, her ship would probably be destroyed. She thought about Proxima Station, about the home the Council had tried to take from her. "All power to forward weapons," she ordered. Ram speed. Her crew knew what that meant. They were going to crash into the station. "It's been an honor, Captain," her first officer said quietly. The Vengeance accelerated, absorbing terrible damage. One engine failed. Then another. The ship was dying, but it was not dead yet. Ji-Ho armed the Prometheus warheads, the last weapon she had. "For humanity," she whispered. The Vengeance struck Kepler Station's command center at full speed. The Prometheus warheads detonated, their quantum disruption fields cascading through the station's power grid. Lights died. Shields failed. Weapons stopped firing. Jiho's crew evacuated in escape pods seconds before the ship exploded. She was the last to leave, watching her beautiful ship die to save her people. The battle raged for 14 hours. Dr. Bo Young Kim worked in temporary medical bays aboard the Indomitable, treating wounded faster than they could arrive. Young soldiers, burned and broken. Some would live. Some would not. She saved everyone she could. How many more? She asked her assistant. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Bo Young took a breath and kept working. Her hands were steady even when her heart was not. As the sun rose over Earth, the news arrived. Kepler Station had fallen. The Council had lost 200 ships. Humanity had lost 89 vessels, nearly half their remaining fleet. But they had won. Across the galaxy, species watched in shock. The mighty Council fleet defeated by a civilization barely 70 years old. It seemed impossible. It was impossible. And yet it had happened. On his homeworld, Counselor Rintal of the Tilmar watched the battle recordings. He saw human ships fighting against odds that should have destroyed them. He saw captains sacrificing themselves to save others. He saw what the Council had become. Bullies who crushed anyone brave enough to stand up. He made a decision that would change his life forever. In the Council chambers, Vartesh faced something he had not experienced in centuries. Doubt from his fellow counselors. This is madness. The Corps representative clicked angrily. We have lost hundreds of ships for what? To punish one species for being successful? They defied us, Vartesh said coldly. They must learn. Learn what? Another counselor interrupted. To fight harder? They have already learned that lesson. The Halmec ambassador, a species that looked like walking plants, spoke carefully. Perhaps negotiation? No. Vartesh's voice echoed through the chamber. We do not negotiate with rebels. Deploy the pacification protocols. Use the planet killers. End this completely. The chamber fell silent. The pacification protocols had been banned for 500 years. They were weapons designed to destroy entire planets, used in ancient wars that nearly destroyed the galaxy. Even suggesting their use was considered a crime against civilization. You cannot be serious, the Corps said. I am completely serious. These humans must be made an example. If we do not crush them utterly, other species will think they can defy us too. Several counselors began to protest, but Vartesh had enough support to push the authorization through. The vote passed, 15 in favor, 12 against, 20 abstaining. Humanity had won a great battle. But in doing so, they had pushed the Council to the ultimate decision. Not just military defeat for humanity, but complete extinction. When the news reached Earth, people did not panic. They did not despair. Instead, something else happened. Something the Council had never anticipated. Humanity's rage, already burning hot, exploded into an inferno. They had fought for freedom. Now they would fight for survival. And when humans fight for survival, they become the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The Council had made their final, fatal mistake. They had threatened humanity's children with extinction. Now they would face humanity's full wrath. The Veltheron battle group approached Proxima Station with absolute confidence. 12 massive warships, each one carrying enough firepower to level a city. Their commander, a veteran officer named Kelvar, had fought pirates and rebels for 200 years. He had never lost a battle. Prepare to fire on the station's military installations, he ordered. Target their weapons first. Show these humans what happens when they defy the Council. His weapons officer began targeting sequences. The great ships moved into attack formation, their shields glowing with power. They never saw it coming. Captain Dong Wuxin watched from the Shadowhawk, invisible to every sensor the Veltharans possessed. His ship was small, experimental, built using technology humans had stolen from pirates and improved with Dr. Yunji's quantum modifications. The Council did not know it existed. That was the point. Range? He asked quietly. Optimal, sir. Firing solution locked. Fire all missiles. 16 missiles launched in silence. They were the first Prometheus weapons ever used in combat. As they flew, quantum fields surrounded them, making them slip between dimensions. Council shields detected nothing. Council sensors saw nothing. The missiles materialized inside the Veltheron ships. The explosions were beautiful and terrible. 4 battleships simply died, their power cores collapsing into quantum singularities. The remaining 8 scattered in panic, their perfect formation breaking apart. Dongwu did not wait to admire his work. The Shadowhawk vanished back into the darkness of space, already running toward the next target. Commander Kelvar survived, his ship heavily damaged. He sent emergency transmissions to the Council fleet. "We're under attack. Weapons appeared inside our shields. 4 ships destroyed. Request immediate." Another explosion cut off his transmission. Across human space, the pattern repeated. Small human ships appeared from nowhere, struck hard, and vanished before Council forces could respond. They did not try to win battles. They tried to create fear and confusion. It worked perfectly. Near Jupiter, pilot Youngjae led the Crimson Hawks against a core carrier group. The massive carriers held hundreds of fighters, but they were slow and predictable. Youngjae used Jupiter's radiation to hide his approach, then struck fast. All wings. Execute attack pattern Delta. Hit the carriers and get out. 20 human fighters screamed through space, their weapons blazing. They targeted the carriers' hangar bays, catching core fighters before they could launch. 2 carriers exploded. 3 more burned, venting atmosphere into the void. The Quar tried to pursue, but Youngjae led them straight into an ambush. Admiral Taemin's fleet had been hiding in the shadow of Jupiter's moons, waiting. The Quar pursuit force flew right into their guns. The battle lasted 20 minutes. Humanity lost 23 ships and over 500 crew. The Quar lost 47 ships and 3,000 lives. But more importantly, they lost their confidence. The Quar commander, a being of pure thought inside a crystalline sphere, transmitted his report in shock. How are they doing this? Their technology is inferior. But technology was not the problem. Creativity was. The Council had fought the same way for centuries, following established tactics and proven strategies. Humans threw out the rulebook and wrote a new one. Commander He Jin-yoon sat in her intelligence center deep beneath Seoul, analyzing intercepted Council communications. She was the best codebreaker Earth had, and what she found made her smile. "They're arguing," she told General Sungmin over a secure line. "The Council species are blaming each other for the losses. The Veltharans say the Quar are incompetent. The Quar say the Veltharans are overconfident. They're not used to working together under pressure. Can we exploit that?" "Already doing it, sir. We've planted false intelligence suggesting the Veltharans plan to retreat and let other species take the losses. The Quar are furious." Sungmin laughed, a harsh sound. "Psychological warfare. Make them doubt each other. Humans invented it, sir. We're just reminding them why." On Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, Sergeant Kyung-soo Bae led his special operations team through the ice tunnels. The Council had built a listening post here, monitoring all human communications in the Sol system. Kyung-soo's orders were to destroy it. He decided to do something better. "Plant the quantum hack," he ordered his tech specialist, a young woman named Ha-yoon. "Don't destroy the station. Compromise it." Ha-yoon worked quickly, her fingers flying over alien controls. "If this works, every message they send will pass through our filters first. And they'll never know we're reading everything." The team finished their work and vanished back into the tunnels. The Council listening post continued operating normally, but now every secret passed through human hands first. The advantage shifted. Back on the Indomitable, Admiral Taemin studied the tactical displays with satisfaction. Human forces had conducted 37 raids in the first week of fighting. The Council had expected to overwhelm Earth quickly. Instead, they were reeling, confused, bleeding from 1,000 small cuts. But Taemin knew this could not last. The Council was mobilizing more forces. Hundreds of additional ships were coming. Eventually, numbers would matter. Eventually, humanity's tricks would stop working. "We need something big," he told his staff. "Something that will make them think twice about continuing this war." His intelligence officer, a man named Wu Jin, had an idea.
"Sir, what if we hit them at home?"
"Not their fleets. Their homeworlds." The room fell silent. "Explain," Taemin said carefully. "They think they're safe. Their planets haven't been threatened in over 1,000 years. If we could strike at one of their homeworlds just as a demonstration, it would change everything. That's impossible. Their defenses are designed to stop large fleets, not small infiltration ships. If we use the Shadowhawk and her sister ships, if we coordinate with our quantum weapons." Taemin considered it. The idea was insane, suicidal, exactly the kind of thing Council commanders would never expect. "Draw up a plan. Show me how it could work." On Earth, Dr. Yoonji and Engineer Hyunwoo continued improving the Prometheus weapons. Production had increased. They could now build 50 missiles per week. Not enough to arm the whole fleet, but enough to keep hitting Council forces where it hurt. "We need something bigger," Hyunwoo said, staring at the schematics. "A weapon that can take out multiple ships at once." "Like what?" "Like a quantum bomb. Something that creates a cascade effect, disrupting every ship within a certain radius." Yoonji ran calculations. That would require enormous power, and the instability would be catastrophic. "I know, but we're not trying to build a safe weapon. We're trying to build a weapon that scares them into stopping." They worked through the night pushing the boundaries of human science. By morning, they had a theoretical design. By the end of the week, they would have a prototype. The war's first month ended with humanity still standing. The Council had expected victory in days. Instead, they had suffered over 100 ships destroyed and thousands of casualties. Their blockade was no longer secure. Their forces were demoralized. In the council chambers, Vartesh faced angry representatives. "Explain how these primitives are resisting," the Corps demanded. "They fight without honor," a Halmech representative complained. "They strike from hiding and run. They do not stand and fight properly." Vartesh's crystalline features showed no emotion, but inside he felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Uncertainty. "Deploy the 7th Armada. Double our forces. This ends now." But even as he gave the order, he wondered, how were these humans doing this? What made them so different from every other species the Council had controlled? The answer was simple, though the Council would not understand it until too late. Humans had spent their entire history fighting each other. Every nation, every tribe, every group had developed warfare into an art form. Peace was the exception in human history. War was the default. The Council species had known peace for so long they had forgotten how to truly fight. Their tactics came from textbooks. Their strategies from computer simulations. Human tactics came from blood and pain and desperate survival. They came from 10,000 years of finding ways to win against impossible odds. The Council was about to learn this lesson the hard way. Admiral Taemin stood before his fleet via hologram, addressing every ship, every crew. "They're sending more forces. They think numbers will break us. Let them come. Let them send everything they have. Because every ship they send here is a ship that's not protecting their homes, and we're about to show them that nowhere is safe anymore." The message was clear. The war was entering a new phase. Humanity was done playing defense, now came the attack. The message arrived on a cold morning in February 2847. Admiral Taemin Kim stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, staring at the holographic display floating in front of him. His dark eyes scanned the words 3 times, hoping he had read them wrong. He had not. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. The Indomitable was the pride of Earth's fleet, a massive warship that had protected human colonies for 15 years. Today it seemed small and fragile, sir. Captain Hyunwoo approached carefully.
Is it true?
Taemin did not answer immediately. He looked out the viewport at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, in a massive station orbiting a distant world, the Galactic Council had just changed everything. "Yes," he finally said. "It's true. The directive was simple and brutal. Humanity had to give up almost all their military ships. They had to abandon 18 of their 23 colonies. They had to accept Council observers who would control how fast humans could grow and expand. The Council called it guided development protocols. Taemin called it slavery. 3,000 light-years away, Ambassador Haewon Park stood alone in the Council chamber. The room was enormous, designed to make visitors feel small. Holographic projections of 47 different alien species surrounded her in a circle. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that human eyes hurt trying to understand their shapes. The Veltheron High Chancellor spoke first. His name was Vartesh, and he had ruled his people for over 300 years. His body looked like it was carved from blue crystal, and his voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. "Ambassador Park, your species has expanded too quickly. In 73 years, you have built more colonies than most species build in 500 years. This is dangerous. This threatens the balance we have maintained for millennia." Haewon wanted to scream. She wanted to tell them that humanity had broken no laws, that every colony had been approved. That human expansion followed all the rules the Council had given them. Instead, she kept her voice calm and professional. "High Chancellor, we have done nothing wrong. Every colony was established in unclaimed space. Every ship was built within the limits you set. Why are we being punished for success? A Corps representative spoke next. The Corps were a species that looked like floating brains inside glass spheres, and they loved rules more than anything. Success? The Corps clicked in its strange language, translated instantly by machines. You call this success? Your species fights among yourselves. You have wars over resources and ideas. You are violent and unpredictable. We are protecting you from yourselves. And protecting yourselves from us? Haywan said quietly. The chamber fell silent. No one spoke to the council like that. Vartesh raised one crystalline hand. You have 90 days to begin compliance. Council peacekeepers will arrive to ensure the process goes smoothly. This discussion is over. The hologram shut off, leaving Haywan alone in the dark chamber. She stood there for a long moment, her hands shaking with rage she could not show. Then she walked out, already planning her report to Earth. On Proxima Station, Captain Jiho Lee gathered her people in the main assembly hall. 40,000 colonists filled the space. Families who had spent years building homes and farms on a world that barely had a name before humans arrived. Now they were being told to leave. Jiho was not good at speeches. She was a pilot, an engineer, someone who fixed problems with her hands, but today she had to find the right words. I know you're scared, she began. I know you're angry. I am too. But I need you to listen carefully. The council has given us 90 days to evacuate. They say we have to abandon our home. A man in the crowd shouted. They can't do this. We followed their rules. I know, Jiho said. But they have the ships and the weapons. If we resist alone, they will destroy us. So we just give up? A woman asked, holding her young daughter close. Jiho looked at the child, then back at the crowd. No, we prepare. We document everything. We show the galaxy what they're doing to us. And we wait for Earth to tell us what comes next. The crowd murmured. Some people cried. Others looked ready to fight. Jiho understood both feelings. Back on Earth, Dr. Yoonji Choi sat in her laboratory deep beneath the mountains of Korea. Data streamed across a dozen screens around her. She was analyzing Council warship movements, trying to understand their strategy. What she found terrified her. The Council was moving over 200 warships into position around human space. These were not just defensive patrols. This was an invasion force, ready to enforce the directive with overwhelming power. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, running calculations. Earth's entire fleet had about 200 ships. Most were small patrol craft and cargo vessels. Only 30 were true warships, and none were as large or powerful as Council dreadnoughts. We can't win this fight, she whispered to herself. Her assistant, a young man named Minho, looked up from his station. Then what do we do? Unji thought about that question. She thought about the human history she had studied in school. Wars and revolutions. Empires that seemed unbeatable until someone found their weakness. David against Goliath. The impossible made possible. We fight anyway, she said. And we fight smart. Across Earth, protests filled every major city. Millions of people marched through the streets demanding their government stand strong. Newsfeeds showed angry faces and homemade signs. We will not submit and free humanity and remember Proxima. Earth's government met in emergency session. Politicians argued for hours. Some wanted to accept the directive, believing humanity could not survive a war against the entire council. Others demanded defiance, saying that freedom was worth any price. Chancellor Yoona Choi listened to every argument. She was newly elected, young for a world leader at only 52. She had campaigned on unity and peaceful expansion. Now she faced the hardest decision of her life. Finally, she stood and raised her hand for silence. The council believes we will accept their chains because we are young, because we are outnumbered, because they think fear will make us weak. She paused, looking at each representative. They don't know humans very well, do they? The room erupted in shouts, some agreeing, others warning of disaster. Yoona waited for quiet, then continued. We will send our response in 1 week. Until then, activate all defense protocols. Call up the reserves. Get our people ready. Whatever happens next, humanity faces it together. Admiral Taman received the preliminary orders that evening. He read them twice, then smiled for the first time that day. Earth was not surrendering. His crew would have their fight. He walked to the ship's communications center and recorded a message to all human military forces. This is Admiral Kim. You've all heard about the Council's directive by now. You know what they want to take from us?
Our homes.
Our freedom. Our future. He paused, choosing his words carefully. In 90 days, they expect us to kneel. Instead, we're going to show them something they've never seen before. We're going to show them what happens when you threaten a human's family. Prepare for war. Kim out! The message spread through the fleet in minutes, then to the colonies, then to every human settlement across 3 sectors of space. The countdown had begun. 90 days until the Council came with their ships and their demands and their absolute certainty that humans would break. They were about to learn their first lesson about humanity. Humans don't break easily, and when they do break, they break their chains, not their spirits. The galaxy was about to change forever,